For our perspective this week, we're also going to include the idea of shading. Just like in lesson 2, when we shaded the Liberty Bell to make it look more round, we're going to look at how shading affects these objects here. So if you want to do the warm-up for your students, they would each have a half sheet of paper like this. If you have younger students, like mostly 4 and 5-year-olds, you could forego this and just focus on the final drawing, because that in of itself will take quite a bit of time and be difficult because students will need help at each place. If you have older students like 5 and 6-year-olds and they can do this, then you would start with the warm-up. You would want to talk about how a square is flat, but when we add these lines going away, it looks three-dimensional like a cube. We can even go in and shade this cube, making one side kind of a medium tone and one side even darker. And this is going to make that cube look even more three-dimensional, as if the sunlight is hitting it from the front and there's shadows on the sides and the back. The same for this pyramid. If the sun's hitting the front here, what would we do to the side? We would shade it as if there's less light here. And that's also going to make it look more three-dimensional. The reason that we're going to do this for the warm-up is because we're going to be adding shading to the drawing once we're done with it today. If you don't want to do the warm-up with your students, then you can just move right to the final drawing. And for that, they're going to just need a normal piece of drawing paper. Whenever we do perspective with a landscape, we always want to start with a horizon line. So for this one, I'll take my ruler and I'm going to draw a horizontal line across the middle. And that's where my land meets the sky. So you're going to do this step 1 on the board, and you're going to have the parents or yourself walk around and help the students get that horizon line. 6-year-olds can probably do it by themselves. 4-year-olds, you might need to go help every single student get that done. Next step is to add the vanishing point, and we're going to do ours right here in the center. That makes it really easy, and we're going to have the Washington Monument right there in the center. Now, before you started this, hopefully you've shown your students an image of the Washington Monument so they can see what they're drawing and understand how perspective works and what we're doing. After the vanishing point, you're going to take your ruler, have it be right next to the vanishing point on that side, and go down to the bottom of the paper here. And we're going to draw a line there. So then I would stop and I would go around and help all the students, and hopefully other parents are there to help them as well. After that one, then we'll draw a second line, but this one's going to be going in the opposite direction. So again, I line it up on the vanishing point. Go away from me to the other side. So all of a sudden we have this nice section here that's going away back into space towards the vanishing point. Now we're going to be creating the Washington Monument above this. This will be the reflecting pool, and the monument will be this really tall, skinny rectangle above it. So I'm going to have my ruler up and down, and I'll do a line straight up like that. And again, because it's kind of a challenge for kids, I would stop, make sure they get that one line. When everyone's ready, then I'll go ahead and tip the other side and do my straight line there. It's going to be a really tall, skinny rectangle. Then I could take my pencil and connect these two like that. We know that the Washington Monument has that triangle on the top, so I could do a dot in the middle and come down and connect that to my rectangle to create that Washington Monument. I have a class of 4-year-olds, so this is what I would do for my perspective. I would show them how the lines go away into space, and I would help them draw that Washington Monument like that. Now, if your students are a little bit older, like 5 or 6, and they can do more, this is what I would do. I would take my ruler and draw this nice little skinny line on the side of my monument. If I did the warm-up, they're already hopefully starting to see how the cube in the warm-up is very similar to what I'm creating here on my Washington Monument. They can also go and draw a line from the dot I created at the top of the triangle and connect it to the line I just made. So that's like that pyramid that I did in the warm-up too. So of course, ask the students, well, what did we do in the warm-up to make it even look more three-dimensional? We shaded the sides. So that's what I could do here in my Washington Monument. Do a light and medium shading here with my pencil, and then do an even darker shading here down the side. And this all of a sudden makes it look like its sun is shining on the front of the monument and we have shadows on the side. Just like that. And of course, try and gauge how your students are doing. If you're moving right along and your 4-year-olds are doing awesome, they could totally do this with you. If you're kind of out of time and it's not looking like you're going to finish, skip that step and kind of let the kids go on to other things. It's totally optional. After you have the monument done and this reflecting pool, we know that the reflecting pool is actually a long rectangle. So what we want to do is go in and draw a line across. Then we can use our eraser and take that away. So now we have that rectangular reflecting pool and our tall, kind of like rectangular prism looking obelisk there. Once you have that done, the students can go in and start to fill in the scene as they choose. If you wanted to direct them more, you could tell them what to do, like, let's go in and draw waves in perspective. Do the waves get bigger the further away, or do they get smaller the further away? They get smaller. Everything in perspective gets smaller towards the vanishing point. So I could show the students how I could do curving lines that are big, medium, and then they get really small the closer to the horizon line they get. So this is showing how I use size to create perspective in my drawing. I could also show the students how I could do a big tree that's close to me and a smaller tree that gets further away. Or I could simply let the kids have fun and put flowers and birds and clouds in it, kind of depending again on how your class is doing. If they're kind of losing focus, you might want to give them some more free time to add those things. If they're still able to get what you're saying and focus on it, then I could show them more perspective things like the trees. After they're done with the drawing, and if there's extra time in class, give them some colored pencils and let them fill in the rest with color.